Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the December City of New Ulm Park and Rec Commission meeting. Appreciate everyone's attendance and taking time out of your day to be here for our meeting. I want to thank those in the audience that are also joining us for today's meeting. First item on the agenda is to review our December 14th agenda. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review the packet of materials that was emailed out, I guess, ahead of time. Any changes to the agenda for today's meeting? Look for a motion of support.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item business, number 3, review and approval of our November 9th meeting minutes. Again, they were sent out in the packet. Look for any discussion on the meeting minutes, and then we'll look for support to approve.
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the meeting minutes from November 9th. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Also included in our packet were the monthly department activity reports by Director Schmitz and Assistant Director Corman. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review those. Any questions or discussion items on the department activity report? Hearing none, the report will be filed with our meeting minutes. Item number 5 on our agenda, City Council meeting recap. And there were a couple meetings there. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. As usual, there were 2 City Council meetings since our last Commission meeting. The November 17th City Council meeting saw them conduct the second reading and then adoption of an alcohol ordinance change for the Civic Center. Also the second reading and adoption for the 2016 fee schedule. And they also had to establish a new fee for alcohol sales at the Civic Center, which they did so. They also authorized the grant application that you recommended they move forward with for props at the Kiesling House in conjunction with Kathleen Backer and her group. Also, the City Council authorized renewal of the lease agreement with Coalition for a Clean Minnesota River in the Riverside Park building. And finally, they accepted the donations that you also recommended they accept. The December 1st City Council meeting had nothing specific to Park and Recreation, and after that City Council meeting at 6 p.m. they conducted the 2016 budget hearing in which they made some minor changes to the preliminary budget with their plans to adopt that 2016 budget at their next City Council meeting, which is tomorrow. That's the report from City Council over the past month.
Okay, any questions for Director Schmitz? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Item number 6, the Renew Committee update, reinvesting in New Ulm. Wanted to provide an update. We did have, we had good attendance, but I know not everyone was able to make it. We had a work session now probably 2 weeks ago, trying to think of the time frame, where we had a work session really dedicated to 2 items that I recall. One was the Renew Committee update and reviewing some projects. And second was the bike route proposal that came through this commission meeting last month, and we had more time to review that, discuss, and ask some questions. So first of all, on the Renew Committee, I can provide a short update, look for questions, dialogue of the commissioners assembled here today. We do have a meeting tomorrow evening, 6:30 here. The main agenda items will be interested in having the group work through how we will evaluate proposals as they come in. So I'm imagining there will be multiple proposals submitted to this Renew Committee from different city departments or nonprofits or city administration. So rather than waiting until the end of the January month to figure out our process of what we might do with 15 proposals or how many ever may come in, I'd like to discuss that over the next 2 months and come up with a process for evaluation. Second, also would like to discuss sooner than later a process for ranking our prioritization So again, rather than waiting until we have the proposals in front of us, if we can think of methodology that will be important for us to prioritize projects that we would then possibly recommend or move on to the city council for consideration. So those are two main items that I guess I'm interested in spending the next 60 days at the Renew Committee working through, so that hopefully we're more prepared once the proposals are in writing and at the committee level. Also interested and would look for your feedback in how we promote the RFP, or the request for proposal process that's underway right now. So there's been some coverage within the newspaper, on the city website, quite a bit of chatter across the community, but would look to all of you as community members of, do you think there's a level of awareness across the community that this process has started, and that we're looking for community groups that have interest in putting a proposal together for consideration from sales tax, that the right people know about this. So I'll pause there and look for questions or discussion from the Park and Rec Commission.
Well,
Yeah.
Chair, I think there has been quite a bit of press coverage. I just happened to be in Mankato and reading the Mankato Free Press, and they had an article about it. I don't know. I think people are aware of what's happening. I do, but then I don't travel and in all circles. I don't know. People who are in different age groups and different work settings. Do people that you work with know that we're
I don't know if it's all that well known.
okay?
Some of the folks that I talk with are aware of it and comment about it and, you know, and ask questions about it. But
Mm-hmm.
Well, given the tight timeline, you know, we're looking for short form proposals, or kind of a letter of intent, to be submitted by the end of January, and full proposals by the end of March. If you have ideas of how we could better promote that this is happening, that we are looking at reinvestment opportunities within the New Ulm community for the greater good of the region, I guess you could forward those ideas to me of how we could better promote, at least at this phase of our work, the RFP process. Also included in the packet, Director Schmitz had included an action form. Again, we've spent the better part of the past 12 months thinking about the potential of extending, reauthorizing the sales tax, and how that potential funding could help us reinvest back within the Park and Rec assets that we have, or even create new assets for the region. So there was an action sheet, item number 6, within the packet, and I guess I'd turn it over to Director Schmitz to kind of outline that proposal form.
Certainly. Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. You can see in the overview of the action form kind of a little bit of a history of our local option sales tax, and of course where we're at now, with the first initial deadline being January 26th to submit ideas, initial proposals to city administration for consideration, and then the Renew Committee will analyze those. And then a second full proposal is going to be due in March. So what I'm looking for from you today is for direction to the department to draft one or more initial proposals for your review at our January commission meeting, to kind of fine-tune things and make sure we get whatever you'd like presented to the Renew Committee. We get that in before the deadline of January 26th. So under the primary issues section of the action form, I've denoted a few items. Some unmet regional needs in our area include an indoor multi-generational aquatic center water park. Also, there are no indoor artificial turf multi-use facilities within our region, nor an indoor inclusive playground. And additionally, we realize that our civic center is already a regional destination. So those are certainly 4 areas that I would recommend you consider seriously. An improved indoor aquatic center certainly services all ages and all groups of people from the young to the very old. We don't know exactly what that would look like and exactly where that would be located, but I'm just calling it an improved indoor aquatic facility. We're going to be conducting a study about our existing indoor swimming pool area very soon, and we'll have some information with that to make decisions with down the road. But certainly an improved aquatic facility is something that would be a regional draw and also multi-generational, available for all. Similarly, the indoor artificial turf facility can service not only athletics, but also businesses and industry, and be a multi-use facility for all ages. Something, again, not found within our region. I'm going to move down to, I think we're all aware of what's going on at Herman Heights with the outdoor inclusive playground. But certainly, given our climate and our geography, I think it's important that we provide a wide variety of indoor facilities also for year-round use. The Civic Center, some of our major users at the Civic Center are regional users already. The local hockey association is a regional hockey association with surrounding communities, including Sleepy Eye and many other smaller surrounding communities. The high school hockey program is paired and shared with Sleepy Eye and other surrounding communities. The figure skating club has members from outside of the community. And the junior hockey franchise that we're in discussions with would be a regional draw also, not just a local group. So an expansion of the Civic Center, I think, does fit within the possibility or our realm to serve those and other regional entities. So you see the list under number 2 of other ideas we've been thinking about and talking about for a year or more. Expansion of the field house, Vogel Field House at the Recreation Center with more multi-purpose courts. That may not be necessary now, given the fact of multiple other indoor courts coming online within the next few years. Through the District 88 senior high facilities, the proposed and planned new National Guard Armory. I know the Martin Luther College is looking at establishing a field house on their campus in upcoming years. And also St. Paul's Elementary has been discussing an addition, including gymnasium right across the street from the Recreation Center. So we might not need any more indoor courts, hard surface courts at the Recreation Center. The Herman Heights Master Plan, Herman Heights Park Master Plan and Monument Restoration, we have been told by Senator Dames and Representative Torkelson that they're very interested in that project and see it as potentially eligible for state bonding dollars. So we might not need to include that in our local option sales tax. That's a question for the Park Commission and the Renew Committee and, of course, the City Council. The Minnesota River Regional Parkway is another area that is going to have some great needs for funding and development at Minnicon Park, Riverside Park, and connectivity. But the main reason for doing that master plan is to become eligible for state legacy funding. So we may not need local option sales tax dollars for those projects. The Johnson Miller Regional Athletic Complex that we're working on concluding the master plan. We have not identified a significant number of funding options for development there and redevelopment. So that certainly could get put into a package that you'd like to submit to the Renew Committee. Indoor performing arts centers, we may not need any more of those, at least from the city or the Park and Recreation Department, given the new indoor performing arts center at the senior high school and other existing facilities in the community. And of course, the State Street Theater at Center and State Street. But we have received a letter of interest from them quite some time back for involvement with the city and possible inclusion into a local option sales tax package. So those are some of my thoughts and questions for you. I'd like to have direction, hopefully at least something out of this meeting to direct staff to put together a draft of our initial proposal to prepare submitting something to the Renew Committee in later January. You have in the packet also the proposal criteria. Again, keeping in mind we don't have to come up with every single little detail at this initial phase. But we certainly don't want to miss that deadline with any ideas the commission would like to put forward.
Director Schmitz and the rest of the commissioners, I'm trying to think back to kind of our calendars. When did we do or have the Lake Crystal site visit? Was that
That's been
before-
almost a month ago.
was it after our most recent commission meeting?
Before it.
Before it? Okay. I just don't remember if we had discussion of people's observations and thoughts after our, we had a tour of Lake Crystal. Now we're planning another one on Friday.
Yes.
Site visit tour, and I think in the context of helping us determine high priorities and being able to look at comparable projects in other communities and how they've fared for regional use and visualization of space and how it could be utilized. So would be looking for feedback from those that went on that site visit of the Lake Crystal tour, and then I think we'll need to discuss after Friday as well, but just a couple comments there.
Well, I was really glad I was able to go along to the site at Lake Crystal. I think I was really able to get a much clearer picture of how the term multi-generational aquatic center is used. I thought one of the things that interested me is about speaking to the manager is how many birthday parties and sort of those sorts of events take place there on a rental basis. So I was very impressed, and I came away with a much more positive view of an aquatic center and water park. So that was my impression. I don't know if other people have felt the same way or.
Anyone else want to share thoughts on the Lake Crystal visit? Other questions or recommendations
The
related
record
to?
should show that people are nodding, even though they are not speaking into the microphone. I hear nods because.
I would have a question if I could. If we were to present something from our committee, what we wanted to see, would, like the number 1, is that like one submission, or are you looking at A, B, C, and D being all separate submissions for consideration by the Renew Committee? Might make a difference as far as how much it gets accepted.
I think that's a great question, Commissioner Prochnick and Commissioners, whether we want to present one proposal with a number of elements within that proposal or break it out as individual proposals. I'm not quite certain there. But I think we could go either way with that. Regardless, I think we'll have some background information about the regional significance and the uses and users of these facilities, and some initial concepts about the economics of it, potential capital development costs, and along with operational costs and revenue sources, revenue streams.
I would have a question, Chair Fryer,
Yeah,
to
please.
Director Schmitz, too. Would it be appropriate to request staff to make recommendations to the Park and Rec Commission on what projects they would recommend, so that we could speak to them? So that we could consider them, what the professional staff views as being a priority, if you will, or a ranking, if you will?
Certainly, I think Initially, I'll certainly point out again that I feel these items under our number one section of the primary issues, the improved multi-generational indoor aquatic facility is, I would say, would rank very high. And along with the artificial turf facility indoor, we don't have in the region, and I know there's quite a number of users and potential users of a facility like that. The inclusive playground is in that package. You know, we may not have to say initially that it's all going to be on a certain campus, although we have begun looking at improving and expanding the facilities at Recreation Center campus. But I'm not sure if this gets to referendum, if we'll have that exact detail in the question on the ballot. But it could be simply, you know, an improved indoor multi-generational aquatic facility.
Right. I just, getting back to that, you know, back in 2000 when the referendum was set out, I don't think we even had a place for the Civic Center yet. We sort of the District 88 model, we're gonna build 2 sheets of ice, but we don't know where, you know, so I don't think it would be necessary for us to have those, for this group to have those sorts of plans. But, so the way I read the staff report is that they have almost ranked these, you know, it looks like you're looking at number 1, A, B, C, D, and although we've discussed everything else that you've listed as number 2, I think that, am I correct to say that that the staff is asking us to really zero in on the 4 items under number 1?
That's correct. I think we could potentially consider putting into that group the Johnson and Miller Regional Athletic Complex also. The other items listed under number 2, staff is not recommending as necessarily needed by our local option sales tax.
Then I think I've got a real good idea of the multi-generational aquatic center. After our last work session, I think I've got a much better idea of what an artificial turf multi-use facility would look like, and I think I know what the indoor inclusive playground would be. What expanded civic center, what are you thinking about adding a 3rd sheet of ice? Is that it? Or?
No, we're not initially planning something like that. We feel 2 arenas are adequate for our civic center, but more multi-purpose rooms, more locker rooms, more fitness space for the users of that facility, the hockey and figure skating users. So it's a little bit of a general expansion for multi-use spaces for team rooms, fitness space, and multi-purpose rooms to further accommodate existing and future users.
Well, right, I was on that committee. After the referendum passed and we knew what our budget was, then the city council sort of divided up into different committees, and we had our wish list and we had our plans, and then we had our painful surgical meetings where we started cutting things. So I assume that you'd be adding back a lot of the things that we had to cut, right?
Yes, exactly. Our present Civic Center is a smaller and provides less amenities as we had originally conceived back in the late 90s and in 2000.
Looking back, knowing what you know now, some of those things that were cut, would they have been successful? Looking at it from this point?
Commissioner Bourne and commissioners, I would say yes. I think our present Civic Center has been extremely successful, but it can be better and more successful and more thoroughly serve existing and future users and provide other opportunities for existing and future users. So, yes, if we had more money, more than the $9 million back in '99, we would have created a more expansive civic center with more amenities.
Yes, when I look at the list, and thank you for preparing the action sheet for the items under number 1 and number 2, and we've spent a considerable amount of time at our work sessions, I think, trying to understand and through our site visits that we've had and our planning for the future. Number 1 seems, as it's stated here, unmet regional needs, I guess, for me, signals the best opportunity for growth of the Park and Rec system from the standpoint of serving not only users in New Ulm, but bringing more people to the community and serving as a regional center for the many communities around New Ulm. You know, also I think as we learn more about these types of projects, we'll have to pay attention to the operational requirements of these projects and understand the operational side, not just the building and the capital investment side. I think that'll be important. But for this stage or this phase of kind of the proposals, those seem to fit best with kind of needing sales tax funding probably to move forward more than some of the others, and I think would generate probably the most interest from regional growth. It's not that the others aren't valuable projects on there, and I think all need to find kind of a path. But as for the exercise of looking at the local option sales tax, I think Director Schmitz is at least helping me understand there might be other funding opportunities for many of the other goals that we would have for the Park and Rec system in New Ulm.
Would we want to include the Johnson Miller Athletic Complex, though? That one didn't have any funding associated with it at this point, and we've invested quite a bit in determining if that is a need more than a want. I don't know. I think there's a little both, you know. But I think maybe that should be considered as well as maybe even a separate item. I like number 1 being a proposal. That's what the Park and Rec truly supports, and we've talked about for how long. And then maybe the Johnson Miller complex to be a secondary proposal.
Well, just to follow up on that, I'm a little bit jealous of or protective of staff time. You know, and I don't want to ask for 5 or 6 or 7, 8 proposals if we're really only interested in 2 or 3. You know, so you know, while I can understand that the Johnson Park might go in there, if it's not something that we're really all going to get behind and lobby for and you know, rally around, I'd just as soon not have staff work to put that proposal. But maybe it's not that much work. You know, maybe you've already got that plan in your back pocket. I'm looking for some input.
Commissioner and Councilor Webster and commissioners, I would recommend at this initial phase that we do go ahead and include that, even if it's a separate item. We have a soon to be completed master plan. It's certainly a regional destination with the great facilities there and tournaments that can take place there, and it could be a project that could take really all of the sales tax money. But I'm just saying we just take a sliver or a piece of that to make some improvements. We pick off. Eventually, there will be maybe 1 or 2 elements that could be funded there. But at this initial phase, I would recommend we include that, and that can be done with a reasonable amount of staff time.
Okay, other questions?
Does our
Recommendations.
renew process, or the sales tax, does it have an ending date on it or a dollar amount that ends it? I'm just relating it to the county one, because we had to identify a project, and when that project is completed, then we're done. And I know the first one ran through 2020, right? And it was dedicated for a project, but does a curtain have to be determined on these? Or is-
It was different. We borrowed the money. You know, we issued the bonds, and when the bonds were paid off, it's done, you know, whereas you have identified, we need this much money, we're gonna collect this much money, and then we'll stop. So it's a little bit it's the same but different.
Well, do we need so much money? Is that what we're trying to accomplish with Renew? Or are we trying to just go for a period of time that we're collecting for?
Money. It will be a bond issue. It will be a bond issue. And so,
Money.
right, we'll identify, with the help of the,
Bonding.
with the bonding council and with past history and all sorts of other analysis, the city will determine what the amount of bonds we can conservatively carry. And then that amount of money will be requested for approval, and then we'll have that amount of money to work with the approved projects. And if there's not enough money, we'll be cutting like we did with the Civic Center. You know, we're sort of, cutting back. So I hope that's. I'm sure that there's somebody who could explain that better or be more clear about it.
Well, I agree. We probably would be interested in setting a specific dollar amount of what we would issue the bonds for. The way that the first one originated, it allowed any excess sales tax collected over the 20-year period of time to accrue in a maintenance fund for
Right.
maintenance of the facilities invested in. And in our preliminary discussions with a few closer to these projects, they believe we likely could at least try to have that incorporated again, or we could try to raise sales tax funding for the bond issue in addition, and if we were so fortunate to have extra sales tax come in, to accrue that in a maintenance fund for those specific projects. What I think we heard clearly, though, is that what was on our radar early is, could it also help with operational costs? And I think we were given indication
got the
that
thumbs
was
down.
the thumbs down. So,
Just one other point about getting the money and spending the money from a historical point of view, and getting back to the Civic Center. And probably nobody remembers this, but we only put air conditioning in one of the two sheets of ice using the bond money, with the idea that over time, the city, through its usual funding, would put in the second AC system. So that's one of the things that happened. You know, we had a project, and it was in some ways funded both with the sales tax bond funds and eventually
Levy
city
money.
levies. So
good
So
question.
Not only will there be a dollar amount decided on what the bonding's gonna be, but there will also be a term, a time
So
period.
both,
Yeah, so
okay.
it'll be total dollar amount bonded, and then what's the term gonna be, the
Okay.
length of term.
All right.
Good questions. Any other questions or comments? Be interested in supporting something? Is there interest in taking action today, I guess?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would throw out that we ask the staff to prepare a proposal for 1A, B, C, and D, and then also the 2D, the elements of Johnson Miller Regional Athletic Complex Master Plan.
Is that a motion?
I would make that a motion.
And I would make it a second on that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to direct staff to prepare initial letter of intent proposals for item number 1A, B, C, D, and 2D Johnson Miller Regional Athletic Complex. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Good. It's kind of exciting.
Item number 7 on our old business, bike routes. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. You have before you a proposed action form to recommend to the City Council that they authorize designating more bicycling routes such as those proposed on the attached map that you have in the packet. There's quite a bit of information in the action form that discusses our comprehensive plan, the city's comprehensive plan, not only with the street system, but also the park, recreation, and trail system chapters, those two chapters, 4 and 5 of our comprehensive plan. And this information talks about the importance of interconnected networks of bicycling and pedestrian movement. We've had some time to think about this over the past few months. Bicycle routes can simply be designation on a piece of paper or on a map. They can also be signed, for instance, in the boulevard with street signs. They could also be striped as a bicycle lane on the road. Or they could also be designated by other markings on the road, painted markings on the road, such as Cheryl's. Or they can be on a separate designated trail, like we have on our existing recreational trail in a portion of the community. Or a combination of one or more of these ways to designate a bicycling route. The Safety Commission has approved this and is recommending it move forward to the City Council also. The New Ulm Bicycle Group has spent quite a bit of time looking at this and assisting with the proposal, along with the Walkable Living Communities Institute report that was completed recently in 2013. Hearts Beat Back, Heart of New Ulm project has been very involved with the bicycling and walkability of our community. And just a reminder that there's the city's already accepted nearly $11,000 from the Heart of New Ulm project to assist in designating more bicycling routes within our community. So I do know we have some other experts here in the audience if you'd have questions for them. But again, it's also very important to realize that none of these proposed actions of designating more bicycling routes are recommended to remove any on-street parking. So any of these next rounds of bicycle route designations will not be recommended to reduce or eliminate on-street parking, is my understanding.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Watson.
Thank you. Now, when we had our work session, I think we spent, at least for me, we spent quite a bit of time making sure I understood the difference between a bike path and a bike lane or a bike route. And so it was my understanding that these bike routes would be designated as more or less to anyone who wanted to look at it, that these are the safe routes, and that we'd be telling the city engineer's office to consider adding these as striping when the next round of striping came along. But there was some small part of this that was a bike route that was actually a bike lane. Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly? Just the one small part?
Introduce.
Cindy Winters, the
Thank
Heart
you.
of New Ulm Project. You're welcome. There is one section of street on Garden Street from Center Street to North Fifth that the city engineers have said, they haven't committed to it, could potentially have a bike lane painted on it because that street is wide enough to have a bike lane without losing any parking.
Okay. So, but that would be
That's the only
that's
section,
That's the only
yes.
section of this proposal where there would be an actual bike lane.
Right, that they said that there is space to put one.
Right.
They've not committed to that.
Right.
But-
Okay. That would have to go through the city council.
Correct.
Right. And then there's most of these are just places where people would be told these are bike routes. Might be signage, might be the city might decide to sign, or the city might decide to put some
Sharrows
striping
down,
on or
right.
something. Okay.
To let people know to expect to maybe see more bicyclists along those routes.
It's sort of like a sign,
slow
children playing or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for Cindy Winters while she's at the podium regarding the plan?
I keep seeing the word transportation routes for getting to work and whatever. So is this recreation, maybe I'm asking the whole commission here, is this recreation or parks, or is it something that should be in public safety?
Both. Safety Commission already
think it's-
talked about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's went, yeah, for that purpose, I think has come to a
Okay.
couple different commissions. You're right, Commissioner Bourne. Given a large part of this includes the trail system, as I understand the plan is not only helping with transportation within the community, but connecting to the trail system
Correct.
for recreation, kind of serving dual purpose.
Right. Correct.
All right. Any more questions or comments on the proposed bike routes?
You're saying that other than the Garden Street strip, none of the others will be painted lanes?
Not as far as I'm aware of. The city engineers only said that that portion of Garden Street was the only one that was wide enough to add a bike lane to, but they did not commit to doing that.
I'm just wondering if in the future these will be painted as lanes, whether we discuss it here or not.
That would be entirely up to the city council at some point in the future.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All right. Is there support to take action on this item?
I move we recommend to the city council that they authorize designating more bicycle routes as proposed by the attached map.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second to recommend the bike routes as proposed. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One no vote, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to new business. Item number 8. Thanks for your attendance, responding to the questions and discussion from the commission, and I'm glad we took another month. I think all of us got educated at the
Yes.
last work session.
That's very helpful.
On to new business, item number 8, electing 2016 officers. So there was included in our packet a roster of our commission.
And, you know, my first question is whether our chair is going to stand for reappointment.
So yeah, the question's directed at me, and I would be
Yes.
interested in coming back to the commission in 2016, if I'm welcomed
Hey,
back.
there's the mayor. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who's our VP.
Commissioner Prochnow.
Oh, it's same, is it, do I get the same question?
I'm not off yet, but
Right. You're not up. No.
maybe someone else would like to do it just because I have some heavy commitments that make it tough some days for
On
me to
some
get
days?
here, unfortunately.
Well, I will let the mayor and others know here, would be interested in serving again on the Park and Rec Commission. I've enjoyed my time here since it looks like 2013. And if the commission is interested, I would agree to serve as chair again. If you're not interested, I'd be more than willing to take another seat up here.
Oh, no.
Gene, I was just looking to your right-hand man. I was wondering, Gene, would you be willing to serve as VP?
I would be willing, but I would defer to Commissioner Prochniak, the other Gene.
No. Let's transfer to another Jean, please.
We'll go from
That'd be
Jean to
very
Jean.
appropriate if I could have, that would be gratefully accepted, yes.
I move that we elect our current chair as chair and the other Jean as vice chair secretary. We're switching genes, gene switching.
Oh, it's
We're gene
genetic.
switching.
Works for me.
All right, so we have a motion for myself, Toby Frere, to remain as chair and for Commissioner Jean Sledell to be vice chair. That the motion?
That's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thanks.
Okay, and there's a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Good job, Jean. I mean, both Jeans.
Thank you, thank you.
Great.
Okay, under the report section, Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. There's quite a bit of information here in the packet, the agenda sheets, as far as projects that we've completed, projects that are in process, and have had purchase orders issued to vendors, and then quite a group of areas that we're still planning on, that we've not committed to expenditures yet. I think there's one element that I have inadvertently missed putting in here, and that we're still in the planning process, of course, for our next park development. And funded potentially by our parkland dedication account, which includes potentially the South Goosetown area, along with many other areas in the community that have yet to see a developed neighborhood park. So I will place that in future agenda packets as still an element we're planning on.
Is there any
Planning phase.
public meetings scheduled for that Goosetown Park?
I am aware of a meeting coming up with the Goosetown interests.
Okay.
A week from tomorrow, Tuesday evening, December 22nd at 6 p.m. in the library meeting room. I'm planning to attend that. And I'm very hopeful that there's some enthusiasm from those people to organize.
And will we as Park Rec get notice of that, or no?
I certainly can work with the Goosetown leadership on that.
Oh, okay.
It's been in the newspaper
Yep.
as an open public meeting.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
you bet. So other than that, unless there's any specific questions, I don't want to read into the record all of these different projects that we've completed and are working on now and planning for the future. But I certainly would like to spend a brief moment on the announcement section here that we're planning on our tour, our Southwest Metro tour this Friday, December 18th. I'll be driving the city van, leaving the recreation center at 8:30 in the morning with a plan to get back to New Ulm in the 3 o'clock time period. I do have 3 stops scheduled. The first one is scheduled to be the Dome facility at Savage, the new Savage Dome, Municipal Dome. And then secondly, from there we are scheduled to go to Chaska, to their community center and indoor aquatic water park. And then we've got a tour at 1 p.m. at the Waconia Community Center and indoor safari water park there. I may possibly tweak that a little bit, but we have those 3 stops already scheduled. I've got a lengthy report of all the different communities that have nothing for us to look at, including Chanhassen, Egan, Apple Valley, Burnsville, Shakopee, Prior Lake, Edina. Those are ones that have nothing for us to look at. I've got a couple of possibilities, such as Eden Prairie. Eden Prairie City is renovating their indoor aquatic center with a significant expansion. So if we want to look at that, that's in the Southwest Metro. It's still under construction. We'd have to bring hard hats, I'm certain. But that's a possibility. They also have a winter seasonal dome with the Eden Prairie City. There's also a private facility in Eden Prairie. I think it's called Champions Hall, an indoor artificial turf fixed dome, I think, facility that I'll be talking to. And there may be, so the itinerary may be tweaked. But we will have a full day of that, and I hope as many of you as possible can attend.
You say hard hats?
If we,
I won't have to have one, I'm a
No,
Prussian.
no.
okay. All
Very.
righty.
Well, thanks, Director Schmitz, for the reports and organizing our tour on Friday. I had one question, then open it up to others for any other questions. Were we able to do an assessment on the Herman playground equipment? Do we, have we, any more knowledge about whether that will be able to be reused, refurbished?
My understanding, well, my knowledge is that it has been removed successfully and is in storage, and we have, it can be repurposed.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
great.
You know, so that's my understanding, yes.
Sorry if I missed that. I know that was
Good.
a question of the commission, if there's something we could do to reuse that.
Yes.
Great. Other questions for Director Schmitz or Assistant Director Corman? Any other commissioner reports today? Again, look forward to our visits tour on Friday. Thank you again for, one, the time you're committing to be here today, but the extra time you're committing to do our visits around the community as well as Lake Crystal and now to Southwest Metro. Appreciate it. Director Schmitz, one more.
Certainly, Chair, Fire, and Commissioners. One final announcement is that our winter spring brochure will be coming out very soon. It'll be coming out in the New Ulm Journal Sunday, January 3rd, with registration beginning online at 10 a.m. Monday, January 11th. So just within a matter of weeks, we will have the new brochure available in print form, also on the website, and the registration begins online or at the Recreation Center, 10 a.m. Monday, January 11th. That's it.
Okay, thanks for a great meeting. Meeting's adjourned.
Boom.